Good day, and welcome back to Celebrity Watchgist, the only place on the internet where the royal drama never sleeps, never apologizes, and never, ever gets boring. Now, I need you to stop whatever you are doing right now, yes, even that, because what happened in Australia recently is the kind of story that makes you put down your coffee, lean into your screen, and say, wait, they actually did what? Because Harry and Meghan rolled up to Australia with $3,000 a ticket events, tears, grand speeches about healing and service, and Australia basically looked them dead in the eye and said, no, absolutely not. And honey, the fallout? Chef's kiss. Quick favor, if you are loving this kind of content, hit that subscribe button right now. Over 92% of viewers haven't subscribed yet, and it is completely free. Takes a second and means the world to us. Thanks if you did. Now back to the show. So let us set the scene. Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of We Just Want Our Privacy, announced they would be making a grand tour of Australia. Now, on the surface, this sounds lovely, right? Two globally recognized figures visiting a beautiful country, connecting with people, doing good in the world. Beautiful, inspiring, noble. Except, and here's where it gets delicious, the tickets to their events were priced at up to $3,000 per person. $3,000 for a couple who has spent the better part of 3 years telling the world they left the royal family to escape the machine, the fame, the commercialization. They were now selling access to themselves like a luxury product on a velvet-roped shelf. The irony practically wrote itself. Now here's where Australia, God bless them, entered the chat. Because unlike some audiences that might sit politely and applaud while quietly seething, Australia has a very particular national personality. They are direct, they are sharp, they are not easily impressed, and they have what you might call a zero-tolerance policy for what they lovingly refer to as tall poppy syndrome, meaning if you show up acting like you are better than everyone else, they will cut you down faster than you can say, spare. And that is exactly what happened. The backlash was immediate, loud, and absolutely relentless. Australian media, politicians, and everyday citizens all started asking the same uncomfortable question. Who exactly is funding this tour? Who is profiting from it? And why is a couple who claims to champion mental health and community suddenly charging working-class families the equivalent of a mortgage payment just to sit in the same room as them? It was the kind of scrutiny that no amount of PR polish could smooth over. And trust me, they tried. Reports started swirling that the tour was being quietly restructured behind the scenes. Events were allegedly scaled back, venues were reconsidered. The whole operation, which was supposed to be this triumphant, feel-good world tour moment, started looking more like a corporate retreat that nobody actually wanted to attend. And the numbers told the story even better than the headlines did, because ticket sales were, to put it politely, not exactly setting the world on fire. Now, let us talk about the tears, because yes, there were tears, and this is Celebrity Watchgist, so of course we are going there. Meghan, in what has become something of a signature move at this point, reportedly became emotional during parts of the tour, particularly during discussions about mental health and her own personal struggles. And look, nobody is here to say that her feelings are not real. Emotions are human, we get it. But when you are charging $3,000 per ticket and then delivering a tearful speech about how hard life has been, the optics become a little complicated. It is a bit like a billionaire crying about the price of avocado toast. The sympathy gets slightly harder to locate. And the outrage was not just coming from random trolls on the internet either. Established Australian commentators, respected journalists, even some figures who had previously been sympathetic to Harry and Meghan started raising their eyebrows. The criticism was pointed and specific. This felt less like a humanitarian mission and more like a monetized grievance tour. And when even your defenders start asking questions, that is when you know the wheels have genuinely come off. Harry, for his part, delivered speeches about service, about veterans, about the importance of mental health advocacy, all topics he genuinely cares about, to be fair. But the problem is that sincerity and a $3,000 price tag are very difficult to hold in the same hand without one of them dropping. People started asking whether the Invictus Foundation and other charitable efforts were truly the focus, or whether they were the packaging around a much more commercial product. It is a fair question. It is an uncomfortable question, and nobody gave a particularly satisfying answer to it. But here's the plot twist that really made the whole thing spiral, because just when you thought the story had reached maximum awkwardness, it somehow found another gear. Certain events were reportedly either canceled outright or dramatically downsized due to the combination of poor ticket sales and public pressure. Now, the official explanations were vague and carefully worded, as official explanations always are, but the internet, blessed and chaotic creature that it is, filled in the blanks with absolute enthusiasm. Social media lit up. Memes were born. Australians, never ones to miss a comedic opportunity, had an absolute field day. And suddenly, a tour that was supposed to rehabilitate their global image had, instead, become the latest episode in what is increasingly feeling like a very expensive, very public unraveling. Let us zoom out for a second and talk about what this actually reveals, because underneath all the drama and the ticket prices and the tears, there is a genuinely interesting story about image, identity, and the very difficult business of trying to be both relatable and exclusive at the same time. Because Harry and Meghan left the royal family explicitly to escape the rigid structure of institutional monarchy. They wanted freedom. They wanted authenticity. They wanted to connect with people on their own terms. All of that is understandable, honestly. But in trying to build a new brand, and make no mistake, that is exactly what Archewell and their entire media empire is, they have created something that looks increasingly similar to what they left, just without the castles. You've got the carefully controlled appearances, you've got the premium pricing, you've got the emotional storytelling packaged as content. The machine is still there, it just has a different logo now. And audiences are noticing, because the modern public is sophisticated in ways that PR teams sometimes underestimate. People can hold two truths at once. They can believe that Harry and Meghan have genuinely experienced pain and still call out when that pain is being monetized. Both things can be true simultaneously. Australia seemed to understand that perfectly, and their refusal to simply accept the narrative at face value, their willingness to push back, ask questions, and demand accountability is honestly kind of refreshing in a media landscape that often rewards spectacle over substance. The bigger question now is what comes next, because this was supposed to be a comeback tour, a rebranding moment, a chance to reintroduce themselves to the world on their own terms. Instead, it has become another talking point, another piece of evidence for both sides of an argument that nobody seems to be tired of having yet. The Sussex supporters will say the backlash was unfair, overblown, and rooted in the same media hostility that has followed them for years. The critics will say this was a foreseeable consequence of choices that prioritize image over integrity. And somewhere in the middle of all that noise, Harry and Meghan are probably sitting in their Montecito home, trying to figure out what the next chapter looks like, and hoping it involves a little less public scrutiny and a lot fewer canceled events. But if history has taught us anything, it is that when it comes to this particular couple, the next chapter is never quiet, it's never simple, and it is always worth watching. And that right there is exactly why we're here. Thank you so much for watching. We genuinely appreciate every single one of you. See you in the next one.